Hi, it's Kerry here again. Welcome to my channel if you're a new viewer. Today I'd like to delve into a series of books and an author that I've come to love over the last few years. It's one of the few books that book series at least, that I've read and reread, and I continue to do so just for the sheer enjoyment and immersion that it gives me. Now, these books are written by one Mr Shaun Bythell. Now, Mr Bythell is a bookseller and large figure about town in the Scottish town of Wigtown, that's in southwest Scotland. Town of about 1,000 inhabitants, and it's one of the national book towns in the UK. Now, that's a concept that goes back a few years. If you're interested in what the book towns entail, I can suggest to you that you read Paul Collins' book, The Sixpence House. It gives a bit of a history of the modern version of the Booktown concept, and it's also an excellent fish out of water tale. Now, Shaun Bythell in 2017 came to fame worldwide when he released his first book. Now, that is The Diary of a Bookseller. Came out in September 2017 to great acclaim. Everybody loved it. Mr Bythell became a bit of a media star, doing interviews and publicity for the book, and somehow that all went right past me. I didn't catch on to the trend at all, and it's probably because I just started a new job at a certain large media organisation at that time. So it wasn't until perhaps almost a year later, when the publicity was raising again for the softcover version, that I started to listen to Bythell's interviews. And he made a tour of New Zealand during the book festival season, and he ended up on Radio New Zealand interviewed by Kim Hill, one of our mega stars of broadcasting. So I decided, this sounds good. So I downloaded the Kindle version of Diary of a Bookseller and read it over about 3 days. I loved the damn thing. It was so immersive, so much fun. I just really enjoyed the experience. So ironically, one of the things that Bythell rails against in the Diary of the Bookseller is Kindles and ebook readers. Sees them as a pox on the book trade. So that was rather ironic that I found out his great work in that way. So anyway, a year or so later, I actually fronted up the money for a hardcover version of his book. I think I got it from a bookseller on Books, whose name eludes me now, but they specialised in selling surplus library copies. So this is mint, and I really enjoyed it. Now, and for about 2 more years, Bythell became quite a world figure. Like I said, he seems to be never out of the media. And in around late 2019, he put out a second book, Confessions of the Bookseller. Now, this is just as excellent as the first. It continues the story of his day-to-day life as a bookseller. These two books are in a diary format. He makes a running total of how many people visit his store each day and how much he's sold and how many books were sold. It's not as dry and boring as that sounds, though. He has a lot of humour, a lot of snarkiness, a lot of sarcasm, not just towards his customers, but towards other people in the town, his staff members, and the people he rubs shoulders with. And one of the most interesting part of the book is when he goes to inspect loads of books which have been sold, most usually from an estate sale. Someone locally has died and they had a huge collection of books, and he gets the job of going to investigate and see what's worthwhile, and he'll offer a certain amount of money for what he finds there. Now, this stuff is more fascinating than it sounds. He finds some real treasures, and some of the stories he tells are quite heartbreaking, about people having to part from their collections, and husbands and wives split up, and all that type of thing. Now, these books, I just found myself totally immersed in them, and I read them so fast that I went back and reread both of the first 2 volumes. I just love being in that world. There's something about Bythell's wit and charm, and the way he describes his town and the people, the inhabitants, his staff members, the customers, just the day-to-day life there. And of course, a big part of his year is the Bythell Books Festival, which runs sometime around September. Be interested to know what they did during COVID lockdowns. Yeah, that's where he becomes a organising Dynamo and works out a whole festival. He's a big part of it. Other people add their parts to it, and it's always a success. Now, late 2020, he put out a third book. Now, this is the 7 types of people you find in bookshops. Now, this departs from the diary format, and I think it's a bit of a lesser book because of that. In this this volume, Bythell uses his wit and charm and humour to basically classify the types of customers that come into his shop. He uses like a scientific classification, the various types, and as a little bonus near the end, he does the same for his staff members or staff you may find in a bookshop. It's not a great immersion like the first 2 books. It's more of a small snack of humour. You can read it in one go. I enjoyed it, but it just left me wondering why we couldn't have more of the diary entries, and I just felt like it was something that was rushed out to sell for the end of year market, and it was a little lesser than it could have been. So hopefully he's getting back to the diary entries. I've seen him mention it. You can catch up with Bythell's occasional snarky sentences on Facebook. He has a page under the bookstore, and he posts books he's found and postcards people have sent him and all sorts of things, and tries to keep you up to date with what's going on in Wigtown. There are lots happened in Bythell's life since the 2nd volume. I understand he's become married and he's got a small child now. All sorts of things have changed. Lots of people in the town have changed. So hopefully he'll bring us all up to date in the coming years and with more volumes of his diaries. And one last thing, if you want to another perspective on Bythell and Wigtown, this book here, 3 things you need to know about rockets. This camera viewfinder's not helping. Anyhow, that is a book by Jessica Fox. Now, if you've read Bythell's first 2 books, you may know her under the name of Anna, a woman he's involved with throughout those books, and things don't work out for them and she goes home to the United States. Now, her real name was Jessica, and her book is about her. She's a filmmaker for NASA in the United States, and drops everything and goes to Wigtown to live, and she becomes enamoured by a gentleman named Ewan. Now, Ewan is in reality Shaun Bythell, and they've changed each other's names in each other's books for some reason, probably for modesty. And Jessica Fox's book really gives an outsider's perception of life in Wigtown and about Bythell himself. And it's equally enjoyable. It's a little bit more sentimental, and you can sense her frustration and things don't really go the way she likes. She demands more commitment from Bythell than he's willing to give, and in the end she ends up confused and a little annoyed. So that's all the books related to Shaun Bythell. Like I said, I hope he's got more coming right up in the near future. And as for me, I am still working my way through Scarred for Life Volume 2. Now that's, I'm about 200 pages through a 530 page book. I'm enjoying the nostalgia it's given me. It's very UK centric, of course, but a lot of the TV shows that they had there eventually ended up here in one form or another. And so it's a little hit of nostalgia and a little hit of things that never ever screened here and maybe worth pursuing. So, and I am still waiting for the fibre to be installed. No progress on that for the last 2 weeks. I understand they're waiting on consent for one of my neighbour's landlords before they can do any physical work. It's starting to seem like it's one of the great wonders of the world that's being built rather than a fibre connection. So anyway, the reason that I'm telling you that is these videos are going to be seriously limited in size and time until I get a better upload speed. I'm currently on DSL2 and it gives me 1 megabyte per second maximum upload. So uploading a video such as this one takes me at least 2.5 hours. So that's why you don't see much long form video making from me. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. And that's Shaun Bythell's books, Diary of a Bookseller, Confessions of a Bookseller, 7 types of people you find in bookstores, Jessica Fox's 3 Things You Need to Know About Rockets, and Sixpence House by Paul Collins. All of them great. Go ahead and read them. Okay, have a great day.